thing that a lot of people do when they set goals in January is they focus on dieting because maybe they've overindulged over Christmas, and because they've overeaten, they then start to feel really bad about that, feel guilty about that, and maybe because they get on the scales and they see that the numbers have gone up, they start to panic and they blame themselves. They feel guilty for overeating. They feel guilty for having those foods that they know they shouldn't have had because they were telling themselves they shouldn't have had it. And they start to really focus in on the number on the scales, the way that the clothes fit around them, and then they start focusing on ways to quickly, dramatically lose that weight that they have put on over the Christmas indulgent festive period. But unfortunately, the way that most people go about that is to put themselves back on a diet. And when you go on a diet is very restrictive. It's not allowing you to eat what you know is good for you. In some cases, it's making you eat things that you don't necessarily enjoy eating, which takes the pleasure away from eating. In a lot of cases, you're being told how to eat instead of intuitively learning what it is that your body thrives on and loves to be nourished by. So when you go back on a diet, unless that diet is actually a way of eating for the rest of your life, then it more or less is a restrictive period of time where you are putting your body into a mode of starvation. While you're on the diet, it may work, but when you come off the diet, if you don't apply a healthy, balanced approach to eating and put those principles in place with what food you choose, how often you eat, how much you eat, when you naturally want to stop eating, then it's going to be very hard for you to maintain any weight loss that you may have achieved. Restriction, dieting, is the major precursor and indicator of binging and overeating. When you restrict yourself from having food that you really want to have because you want it for some reason, when you deny yourself food, you are saying to yourself, I can't have that. And you all know that when you deny yourself something that you really, really want, you're going to fixate on it more and you're going to want it. And sometimes this can be an emotional attachment to a food and saying, I can't have that, but I really, really want that because when I eat it, I feel a certain way. And sometimes it's more a biochemical thing, is that your body's saying, I need to have that nutrient right now and you're not giving it to me. Either way, when you focus on the foods that you are denying yourself and not allowing yourself the pleasure of enjoying, eating, or being nourished by, then you're effectively denying yourself the very thing that you need in that moment. And all you're doing is encouraging yourself to focus on it, to fixate. And when you focus and fixate on food, it never ends well. Most people who deny and restrict themselves only to overeat or binge eat anyway beat themselves up terribly. They suffer from guilt and shame, and they blame themselves for not having any willpower. They beat themselves up with a hell of a lot of negative self-talk, criticizing their choices because they are stupid or they just can't stick to anything, or why bother, because every time you try and go on a diet or any time that you make an agreement with yourself, you break it. And that's not a good feeling, beating yourself up over doing something that of course you're naturally going to do, eat, overeat, binge, if you are denying yourself in the first place. So going on a diet of any form isn't actually going to help you. Learning how to eat naturally balanced meals that are full of real foods is a great start. It takes the pressure off expecting yourself to stick to an unrealistic diet regime, and it encourages you to start to tune in to your own body's inner wisdom. Because we often spend years of dieting, eating what the diet says, we lose touch with that connection to our own body wisdom that knows what it wants to eat, that knows how good it feels eating certain foods and how bad it feels when it eats other foods. The more that you diet, the more you are relying on something else outside of you to tell you how to eat, and the more you lose trust with yourself. A lot of people who've been dieting on and off for years start to think that if they don't have a program that tells them how to eat, that they just can't trust themselves to know what to eat, when to eat, and how much of it to eat at all, because they've completely lost trust and faith in themselves. So they put their trust and faith into the diet plan, which of course will work while you're on it for the period of time that you're on it, but will not be a sustainable way to feed your body enough of the nutrients that it needs to be able to do all the things that it does for you. So dieting is not the answer. Balanced, healthy eating is. and taking the pressure off of yourself and the expectation for the overindulgence by being kinder, more compassionate to yourself. The body has a beautiful intelligence about it. Trust your own inner wisdom. Trust your body. Trust yourself. Work to get that trust back so that you can really remind yourself that nobody ever is more qualified to tell you how to eat and how much and when than you and your body. Take care, everyone. See you next time.